Miami Beach, July 15, 1997. The morning sun glistened over Ocean Drive, where pastel-colored Art Deco buildings framed the palm-lined street. Tourists laughed as they sipped lattes outside cafes, unaware that just a few feet away, one of the most shocking crimes in American history was about to unfold. It was just after 8:40 a.m. Gianni Versace, the Italian fashion mogul and creative genius behind the Versace empire, returned from his routine walk to the news cafe. In his hand, a few magazines. He smiled politely at a passerby and climbed the marble steps to his opulent mansion, Casa Casuarina. Then, a crack of gunfire. 2 shots. Versace collapsed. Blood spread across the marble. A pigeon, startled by the noise, fluttered into the sky. The world would never see Gianni Versace alive again. He was 50 years old. And this was no random killing. Stay with me, because behind the headlines and flashing lights, there's a deeper story, one filled with obsession, injustice, and chilling silence from the systems meant to protect us. Subscribe and watch till the end. You won't believe what was missed, who looked away, and how many lives were destroyed in the shadows of fame. Andrew Cunanan was a chameleon. Charismatic, smart, a master manipulator. He was also a killer. Born in 1969 in California, Cunanan was the youngest of 4 children. His father abandoned the family when Andrew was a teen, and his mother struggled to keep things afloat. But Andrew quickly learned how to adapt. He lied, seduced, and ingratiated himself into wealthy circles. He was charming, witty, dangerous. He fancied himself someone who belonged with the elite, not outside, looking in. But by 1997, Andrew Cunanan was spiraling. Rejected, broke, angry, and deadly, he began a killing spree that lasted 3 months, taking the lives of 5 men across the United States. Each murder more brutal than the last, each victim carefully chosen. But the question remains, why Gianni Versace? Minneapolis, April 1997. The first victim, Jeffrey Trail, a former naval officer, bludgeoned to death with a claw hammer. His body was wrapped in a rug and left in a closet. The next day, Cunanan killed David Madsen, a successful architect and Cunanan's former lover. He forced Madsen to travel with him for days before shooting him by a lake. Then, Chicago. Lee Miglin, a 72-year-old real estate developer. Tied up, tortured, and murdered in his own garage. Next, William Reese, a caretaker at a cemetery in New Jersey. Shot in the head, his truck stolen. The country was now hunting a serial killer. But the FBI listed Cunanan as a low priority. Why? Because his victims were mostly gay men. And in 1997, that detail meant fewer headlines, less urgency, and little public sympathy. As Cunanan made his way to Miami, law enforcement knew where he was. The FBI issued a wanted poster, yes, but made no significant effort to involve the press. No roadblocks, no all-points bulletins, despite knowing that he was armed, violent, and had crossed state lines. And while the LGBTQ+ community grieved and feared, the broader public barely noticed. Miami should have been warned. Gianni Versace should have been warned. Versace was a titan of fashion. His designs redefined glamour. His friends were royalty, supermodels, rock stars. Madonna, Princess Diana, Elton John. But Versace was also a proud gay man in an era that didn't fully embrace that identity. He lived boldly, yet cautiously. He had received threats before. He was aware of dangers. Some reports suggest he may have crossed paths with Cunanan before, at a party, perhaps. But whether they truly knew each other remains a mystery. What is certain is that Cunanan idolized him. Versace had everything Andrew wanted: power, prestige, and acceptance. And so, in the twisted mind of a narcissist on the edge, Versace became the ultimate prize. The final act. Back to July 15th. Cunanan vanished into the Miami streets after the murder. He left behind a trail of panic, but no trace of himself. The FBI scrambled. Media frenzy exploded. Suddenly, the man they had largely ignored became the most wanted in America. Too little, too late. 9 days later, July 23, 1997, a caretaker noticed something off at a houseboat in Miami Beach. The police were called. Inside, they found Andrew Cunanan, dead, a single bullet wound to the head, A suicide. He had been hiding in plain sight. Less than 2 miles from where he killed Versace. There was no trial, no confession, no justice for the victims. Only questions. Why didn't the FBI act sooner? Why weren't the early victims given the same attention? Why did it take the death of a celebrity for the country to care? The aftermath was complex. Gianni's sister, Donatella Versace, took over the brand. She led it through immense grief and scrutiny. She became a fashion icon in her own right. The LGBTQ+ community mourned not just the loss of Gianni, but the message sent by the authorities in action, that some lives mattered more than others. Years later, the truth began to seep through the cracks. The Netflix series, The Assassination of Gianni Versace, pulled the curtain back on the systemic failures and social bias that shaped the case. It wasn't just about a murderer. It was about how society looked the other way, again and again. And here's the most haunting part. Cunanan wanted to be remembered. He wanted infamy. And by killing Versace, he ensured it. But the true legacy belongs not to the killer, but to the victims: Jeffrey, David, Lee, William, and Gianni. They were more than headlines. They were sons, lovers, artists, icons, and they deserved better. If this story moved you, or made you think differently, share it. Subscribe for more true crime stories that don't just focus on the blood, but on the broken systems, the unheard voices, and the truth beneath the surface. Because justice doesn't stop at the crime scene. It begins with remembering.